Britain's Leveson Inquiry, examining the ethics of the press, has had its two highest profile witnesses in recent days, and it's been a family affair. James and Rupert Murdoch have been separately grilled for hours about what they knew about the phone hacking at their newspapers and also the power that they've wielded over politicians for decades. Their evidence has placed enormous pressure on the Cameron government. Mark Lewis is the lawyer who shot to fame last year representing victims of phone hacking. He joined me earlier from London. Mark Lewis, welcome.
Hello, good morning.
When you launched your first case against News of the World on phone hacking, could you have imagined that it would lead here?
Oh, I mean, the idea that one solicitor's file in a filing cabinet in an office in Manchester would lead as far as it is with Rupert Murdoch. I mean, walking past me yesterday in a court corridor, or me being in America outside the News Corporation's offices, News Corp's offices, was beyond the wildest imagination.
Rupert Murdoch's testimony provides an enormous insight into the power that he's wielded in the United Kingdom for the last 40 years, and yet he says that with all these meetings that he had with Prime Ministers over all that time, he never asked for anything.
I mean, sometimes you don't have to ask. I mean, if the bully at school never has a fight, he's still the bully at school, and people are scared of him. And I think that's a proper analogy, because whether or not he asked for anything, nobody had told the politicians that. Nobody had told the prime ministerial candidates. They all thought that they had to get News Corp, they had to get Rupert Murdoch on board. So whilst he accepts, he went to stay at Chequers for a party where he had meetings with prime ministers, whilst he might say, look, I just wanted friendship with these various leaders, as he described them, throughout the world, those leaders looked to him for support, and he certainly didn't do anything to discourage that.
Well, they wouldn't have had to have gone far to find out what he thought, because as he said yesterday, what he thought was always in the Sun editorials.
Well, it was always in the Sun editorial, but also what was put out to him was, for example, Alex Salmond, the Scottish leader. At one stage, he was described in the Sun editorial as basically dangerous, that no one could possibly support that. You know, and when the Sun on Sunday was launched a few weeks ago, the Sun on Sunday came out in favour of Alex Salmond. So it's a very fickle thing getting the support of Rupert Murdoch.
Now, you're launching action for victims of phone hacking in the United States. You've just been there. What can you tell us about what happens next?
Well, what has happened is that there are so many victims in England. It's News of the World victims, that the English newspaper, but some of them inevitably would have been people in Australia and in America, and there are people who were hacked while they were on American soil, or American citizens who were hacked while they were on American soil, and therefore they have to look at what is best for them and to pursue things. And of course, it starts things with the process of discovery of documents in America and maybe deposition. So you might see that James Murdoch, or maybe even Rupert Murdoch, has to go to court in America and to explain things. And yesterday it ties in with Rupert Murdoch's evidence about 60,000 emails that have been passed over to the Department of Justice in America. So we are going to start seeing, or we have started to see, this phone hacking scandal in Britain crossing the Atlantic. And that's another one of the firewalls. I'm sure News Corp did not want this to go right into their heartland.
Now, you said at the outset that you had no idea when this began where it would lead. Do you have any idea now about where it might end?
Well, I think people are starting to question the effect on democracy of too much global media ownership by any one company, and stepping back from that. So I think governments will now look at whether that should happen, looking at issues of plurality, etc. I mean, if you're talking about where Journey started, I don't think that I would have had any platform to enter into a debate about democracy, about media ownership, about plurality, but it's come forward. That's what's happened in the debate.
Mark Lewis, thank you.
Thank you very much.